Well, thank you so much. Alice and I were just talking a moment ago, kind of before we start, how our shop's been open 11 years this year. And we actually, when we first came here to Sioux Falls, we actually toured the State Theater. Is anybody from Sioux Falls or kind of been here for a while? And kind of the way the State Theater used to be. And so the way it is now, this is actually a dream come true for ours, as not only as a family, but a business owner, to see the State Theater thriving and having people in here with the most comfortable chairs you can be at a theater. It's pretty awesome. So we are super delighted to be here. I think one of the great things about what we do as culinarians, in particular pastry, is the way that art and science kind of combined. There's something so special about that, and I think it takes a special type of chef to want to go into the pastry world. A lot of people enjoy cooking at home, making steaks, great meals. Some of you might be amazing chefs in your own right. When it comes time to pastry, though, the science part of it has to be the component for you to be able to do it. You can't just kind of put some water and some flour and some yeast and have bread, but you can salt and pepper a steak and have a really great steak. And I think that that's the important part about the pastry part of it. And it's really interesting dynamic, I think, for most pastry chefs. I would say that most of my colleagues and I, we're pretty serious about what we do, although we create very whimsical things. It's this odd kind of duality that we have in our personalities. So, at home, I'm like that. I dress in purple, I dance around, we sing and dance. It's amazing. But when I'm at the shop, I'm much more reserved. So, kind of moving into that aspect of what we do, and just the overall inspiration of the original movies, and especially this one, is that we kind of start getting into the world of chocolate and what we experience with that. And I'm not sure how many people are familiar, but chocolate, the cacao plant, is one of the most complex fats known to nature, not nature. There's only one crystal in about a dozen that actually make chocolate, which is fine chocolate, is called couverture. So to be called couverture, it can only be chocolate, sugar, cocoa butter, a little bit of lecithin as an emulsifier, and a very high end of that. So if it says chocolate, it's not couverture. Other things have been added to that. So what we use at the shop is all couverture, which is the top percentage of chocolate. And to temper chocolate, or be able to get it to do some of the more whimsical things, like, and we'll go back to this one actually. He's holding a bonbon, typically, and you'll see it in the show. A bonbon means good in French. It's a small chocolate bite. So to be able to get that shine and that color on there, the chocolate has to be tempered, and it has to be tempered within about a 2-degree temperature range to have this crystal called the beta crystal grow. And it actually does look like a crystal. Has anybody gotten a chocolate bar from the store and it kind of has a little bit of white on the outside of it? Has anybody got that? And you open up the package, it's kind of like frosty almost, and like, oh, it's moldy, and you throw it away. It's actually not mold, but that's called as fat bloom. And this is how complex you can get. The chocolate, the fat in the chocolate, if it exceeds about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, the chocolate starts to come out of emulsification and the fat starts to come to the surface. And because it hasn't been tempered anymore, it actually turns white. And with the white, what you see on there is actually the crystal being out of temper. And when you see it, it actually looks like a snowflake. It actually makes little round, perfect little crystals that all grow together if you were to heat it and let it come out of temper. So that's better than the bonbon, because that's one of our macarons, so that's pretty fun. So kind of coming into this picture right here, you can see that this is actually a ganache, and a ganache is an emulsion of chocolate and cream. Now, again, in that science part, you have to have proper proportions. If you have too much chocolate, it's going to be too thick. You have too much cream, it's going to be too thin. If they're not the right temperatures and you mix them together, they're going to separate or break. Has anyone kind of done that before? Made a sauce at home? Right, all of it looks like oil on top and everything's floating on the bottom. It's because the emulsification and the ratio wasn't quite there yet. And you can see on this picture, it's a pretty cool picture. You can almost, in some of those top left ones, and for sure the middle row on the right, you can actually see the windows of our shop in that picture reflecting off the ganache right there. And that's just actually a nice, perfectly piped ganache at the right consistency. That's what it should look like. It should be shiny, elastic, kind of that texture right there. This kind of gets us a little bit more about the whimsical part. As I said, myself and a lot of our colleagues are kind of into that. The perfection of pastry and the science of pastry kind of draws us to the industry, I would say, because it is a lot less loose than it would be for a chef. Again, all of those desserts there, they were each probably tested by us. My number one test tasters are over there, sitting my wife and my daughters. So everything is tested meticulously. So for an item to get on our menu, it probably takes about 5 or 6 tests and iterations before we get it on. And then once we have the flavor, we're like, oh great, pistachio chocolate, or chocolate hazelnut, or whatever it is. Then we have to make the look part, and that's where we transition from the science part into the look part, and that's where the creativity comes in. And it is a very personal. Cooking is very personal as well, but I think when you kind of get into this area, you're really presenting a piece of art in a lot of ways. And so one of the best descriptions for something to be art that I ever heard was one of my mentors, and he said, for it to be art, it has to move you. It's a very good explanation of what art is. If people don't have it, but that's what it is. If it moves you, it's art to you. It might not move me, but it doesn't mean that it's not art. So having our specific look and our feeling is really, really important to me. I think that from a creative standpoint, I primarily create based on feelings. So when I do a new macaron flavor or we do a new petit coteau, a lot of it is that feeling that I had that I'm trying to translate onto something that's only about this big. So the guest might not explain it or might not understand it, but the creative process kind of works like that for me. Chocolate brownie, can't go wrong with that. It's just kind of fun to see all the different uses of chocolate. Do many people use chocolate at home? Many people like chocolate. Everyone's hand should go up on everyone likes chocolate. Good, you come to the right place. Good. This is our most popular dessert, Chocolate Dream. Again, you can see the reflection off of the windows in that picture. And that kind of comes down to, again, the science of the emulsions, of how much water is in that glaze combined with chocolate and cocoa powder and a couple other things to be able to have it have that shine. The number one question that people get when they see that is they think that it's hard. They think it's like a hard, crispy shell on the outside, and actually it's just soft, and it actually adds to the dessert, kind of going back to that creativity standpoint. That dessert's been on the menu for 11 years. We opened with that one, and we celebrated 11 years in May, and it's been on the menu for 11 years, like nonstop. So I've been making that over half my life. Just kidding, I'm a little bit older than that. So kind of coming back, I think you're going to experience that, and I think that that's part of what's beautiful about the movie is that I think that the filmmakers did a really good job in creating a pastry world where there were no limitations, right? And I think that's what's beautiful about all of the genres of Willy Wonka is that it's taking something that we know and having no limitations, right? I have to have physical limitations. I wish that I could do some of the things that were in Wonka or in some of the other dessert movies, but having limitations on it is quite challenging, again, to try and get those proportions right. So not only in Wonka, the chocolate's going to make you fly, right? Cool, that's awesome. But what we're doing when we try and make it on a professional, earthly scale and not one like that, is getting the textures to be able to have your palate try different things in a different way. So in that particular dessert, that was one of our hazelnut desserts, I believe. And in that, there's about 6 different textures. Transitioning from the science part as well is that each texture has a different proportion, a different ratio, a different consistency of fat, sugar, acid, salt. We don't really use acid and salt too much in pastry, which makes it a little bit harder. And so kind of going about those textures, if the wonderful staff could kind of help us out here. This one was a coffee-based dessert. And so the idea with this one was kind of having coffee and the 2 little sugar cubes floating on top of your cup. That was kind of the one for us. So the wonderful team at the State Theater is going to be passing out some bonbons for you, a little truffle, okay? So they'll pass them out. If not, you can take the tub, pass one out. So these are something that we made specifically for this event. I wanted to have something fun to try that is not only delicious but has kind of a Wonka-esque texture to it. So for this purpose, I'm calling these intergalactic exploding meteors. So when you get one, you'll see why. You might want to plug your ears when you eat it. So these are a rich, I want to say rich, but a nice, smooth, beautiful milk chocolate ganache in a chocolate shell. And then they're coated in 3 different types of chocolate-coated Pop Rocks. So when you take a bite out of it, it's going to pop a little bit, it's going to crack a little bit. If you take a bite of half and kind of let it sit in your mouth and kind of grind it up a little bit, you'll get all the cracking and everything from it. So you can go ahead explore with those if you like. I hear the paper rustling, either that or it's people's fillings blowing out, as they told us when we were a kid. So again, providing texture, I think, is one of the wonderful things that we do in our field here. Did everybody get one? Everybody good?
It's so good.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So I think we're going to have these actually. We made a run of these, so I think we're going to have them available in the shop starting maybe tomorrow or the next couple days, as long as they last. But they're not going to be packaged like this, but they are pretty fun. Everyone enjoying the textures of that? Everybody kind of feel the center, and the center is what a ganache should be, a nice perfect emulsion. It should be nice and smooth, and then you should get that vanilla from the ganache first, the milk chocolate, the cream, a little bit of butter, and then the outside shell kind of helps pull that through a little bit more as well. So I think this is a pretty good representation of being able to. This is probably one of the least serious things that we do, and it was pretty fun putting the Pop Rocks on it, to be quite honest. I know that I really enjoyed it. My girls really loved it as well. But kind of blending those two things, that duality of having the science part of executing a well done emulsion of fat and liquid, which is cream, and then kind of presenting it in a way with that kind of more whimsical way. I think time-wise, we're good for a couple minutes. Does anybody have any quick questions? We can also do a little Q&A at the end as well. Does anybody have any questions that they thought of before we kind of get going? Great. Well, if you think of anything at the end, really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Allison and the whole team here at the State. And I can't wait to sit back and watch the movie with you guys. Thank you.
I assume we're not using giraffe milk.
You never know. You never know.
But do you have a favorite type of cream or milk that you're using, or do you only use cow's milk?
It's a good question. Primarily just like cow's milk and cream. I have done a couple things over the years, very, very minimal with like alternative milks, but there's something, again, so special about the fat content of cream and what it is, and being able to use it. You need a high fat content, so 36%, 40% would be in a heavy whipping cream to get the most of the flavor profile that you need. So some of the alternative milks, like the soys and the almonds and things like that, don't have high enough fat content. You have to supplement. There are some things like the new pea protein or pea milks that come out. They actually have a higher fat content or protein content that work a little bit better, but I haven't played around with them that much. But I'm looking forward to trying giraffe. Maybe I'll come to that Snakes on a Plane and see if I can get some giraffe milk. Can you milk a snake? I don't know. It might be hard. Those are good questions. Thanks.
I guess I have a question just about the different types of chocolate.
Sure.
Like,
well, there's chocolate and there's chocolate, right?
Yes.
And
so what is, like, I'm guessing you just can't use all of them for everything. What's your favorite type of chocolate to work with?
My favorite to eat in general is milk chocolate. And from like a world global percentage, milk chocolate is actually far more popular than all the rest. So milk chocolate still has cocoa powder in it, or cacao solids is what it is. So technically it's still chocolate. There is some debate whether white chocolate is actually chocolate because there's no actual cacao in there. It's just cocoa butter. But I kind of classify that. It works the same, has a similar characteristics of it, but like globally, milk chocolate is the most common and most popular. Every once in a while, having a nice bit of dark chocolate is very nice, but overall, I could eat milk chocolate all the time. That's a great question. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys so much again. I just really appreciate it. Thanks for watching the movie. It was super fun. I really literally do want chocolate right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And I want to sing and dance all at the same time. So pretty crazy how that movie works out. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again for inviting me here and to the State Theater for doing this and just being a part of it. So thank you so much. Thanks for staying around. Appreciate it. Thank you.